How do we get back into manifestation mode when we have zero control in our life?
We have to use the circumstances that we're living in as an opportunity to go further in our own personal development.
What does that mean?
Period. Let me unpack this for you. To truly manifest means that you feel good. Feeling good means your energy's free, you're inspired, you are receptive, and therefore attracting towards you what you desire. So if we're in a place now where we feel like we're out of control, we're trying to get control, we're in the opposite of that manifestation state, which I refer to as being a super attractor. We're no longer connected to that power. So the way back to that power is to put our personal growth first, to get back, not go out and try to force anything or do anything out there to find control, but to turn inward, to go deeper and identify what's unresolved, work out what needs to be healed, bring forth to the surface the truth of what's up so that we can show up for it, and get back to a baseline of feeling safe, a baseline of feeling joy, a baseline of connection. Rather than thinking that I have to go get control over something, we have to return to who we are. And it's a lot of language, but I can further that too.
And what happens when we try to control our environments on the outer world, people on the outer world, schedule, food, working out, whatever it may be, when we try to control everything on the outside, but we're constantly in trigger mode. Things affect us so deeply, what's happening on the outside internally. Will that give us a sense of control if we have everything under control, but we're still triggered by everything?
So when we're triggered, we try to find control because it's a way of staying safe. Being triggered in any form is really just an activation of a sense of being unsafe. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do in that moment is go try to control our relationship or go try to control our food or go do something to feel safe. And that also can come in the form of addictive behavior like overeating or drinking too much to anesthetize and numb out that feeling of being unsafe, that feeling of being activated and triggered in a wound, in a place of fear ultimately. So what we want to really begin to recognize is the reasons that we get triggered, and then find tools, self-soothing tools, self-help methods, breath practices for self-regulation, regulating our own nervous system, our energy, our field in those moments so that we don't live from trigger to trigger to trigger to trigger to trigger. During COVID, man, I mean, the whole world has been triggered. So we've been in this constant state of hyper arousal, fight, flight, freeze, reactivity. And I said very early on, I said this in March of 2020, there's two ways you can show up for this. You can numb out and drink and use and anesthetize yourself in whatever way you do, or you can show up. And when I say show up for yourself, show up for the unresolved parts of yourself, show up for the painful stuff, show up in your therapy, show up on a show like this, show up in a self-help book, show up through a 30-day contemplative practice, whatever it is that you are guided to actually take action with it. So we had two choices and we still have that choice. Even if it's been a year of numbing out, you can choose again right now.
Yeah. What's been the biggest internal trigger for you that still affects you today that you haven't fully gotten over the hump? Mm-hmm. Or do you feel like you've kind of mastered that part of your life?
I am in the mastery process, but I think that I will be for the rest of my life in mastery. But I'm really, really, a year ago today, I was in a much more triggered state than I am fast forward 12 months, a little more, because like everyone else, COVID activated unresolved parts of me, feelings of feeling out of control. That's a big one for me. Like you said, feeling out of control, feeling unsafe, feeling not cared for, feeling like I have to do everything. So while I've spent the year really, really like in full blown recovery mode, like saying, hey, I see this head on, you know what hit the fan. Mm-hmm. I'm going to show up now. I've shown up with every ounce of my being and have really come out the other side. But to your point, it's still there. So it's not that I'm completely healed and I have no triggers. Mm-hmm. The difference is that I'm so aware of those triggers. I said to my executive team today, I said, listen, guys, I said to our HR director, I would like you to go. We've been doing a lot of educating ourselves on how we want to have our company structure and team communication. And I was like, the exec team, which is our CEO and our COO and myself, we're kind of in our old habits. But our energy isn't there anymore. Like we're not those people anymore, but we're still falling into these old habits. So can you help us create the structure through which we can have boundaries and proper communication so that we can step into the new patterns of who we are? So some of it is that, we have to catch up with our own growth in a sense. Mm-hmm. And I think I've seen that personally and professionally. So it's fascinating when you make a commitment to your inner life, what can change, and then the discomfort along the way too.
Right. What would you say is what's been the biggest trigger for you in general in your life?
Feeling inadequate and unlovable.
Really?
That's the feeling.
Okay.
What triggers that feeling is feeling out of control, feeling like people aren't showing up for me. Because the thing
and when
that
people don't show up for you, or you don't feel like they're showing up for you the way that you want them to,
I feel inadequate and unlovable. I'm
interesting.
Wrong.
Even though they might be showing up for you fully in their capacity, if you don't feel it a certain way. I have to do
everything. No one can take care of me.
Wow. Man, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Mm-hmm. So how do you learn to overcome that on a daily basis when that's been so embedded for so long?
One of the tools I've been using and studying, and I plan to get trained in, is IFS therapy, internal family systems, founded by a new friend of mine called Dick Schwartz, who I will introduce you to because I'd like for you to have him on the show. I'm his new pro bono publicist, but he's truly an amazing man, and he's created a system that is one of the most profound therapeutic systems for any human, but especially those of us who have had trauma. And the internal family system, simply put, is the belief system that we have many different parts of who we are. And we have these protector parts that protect these inner child parts, like that he refers to as exiles. And so the inner child part is I'm inadequate, I'm unlovable. And the protector part is whenever that inadequacy or that fear of not being good enough or not being cared for shows up, the protector part is I'm going to control everything around me. So that's the part I call the controller, right? Mm-hmm. Another one of my protector parts is knives out, right? So that's the part of me that's like, if you mess with me, the knives are out. Don't
right.
Right. And another protector part could be for somebody, even numbing out could be a protector part, right? Or drinking or addiction can be an extreme protector part. So there's no bad parts, as Dick says, but the work is to really get to a deep connection with is what IFS refers to as self energy. Self could be considered, in my words, source, inner guidance system, the universe, God, the part of you, the all-knowing, loving, caring, parental part of you, really, the part of you that can care for those more extreme parts. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty dense idea, and it's quite the opposite of what we've been brought up to believe in. But I'm very clear that one of my intentions, because I've been practicing IFS for 8 years with my therapist, and it has had a profound impact on my well-being and my experience of other humans and my ability to witness people with compassion, even people who are really in bad ways, or people who have done harmful things, but to see them with compassion because I can see them in all of their parts.
Right. And when someone's being aggressive or angry or in knives out mode or addiction mode, when you can see it in yourself, you can see it in other people. And when you can have compassion in yourself and the way you've been now or in the past, then you can start to look at other people and say, well, I don't agree with this, but I'm not going to scream at them and yell at them or get angry at them, but I can have compassion and learn to communicate in a way that they could connect with and resonate in this moment.
I love that you just nailed that so perfectly, which is what is your gift, because you just said when you see it in yourself, you can see it in other people.
Yeah.
That is such an important point to make, because when we start to do our own personal growth work, one of the greatest benefits, one of the greatest gifts is that we start to have a greater sense of compassion for others because we recognize that we're all suffering. Wow, if I can suffer that much, then I can't imagine what that person's going through. We are all in this together.
Judgment's been something that I've been working with a lot with myself and other people, especially during the last year where politics and cancel culture and right and wrong communication is constantly being talked about on social media. And I've constantly tried to check myself and say, okay, I don't agree with this, but I don't need to judge this person for their beliefs or where they're at. And when I come from a place of non-judgment, when what's happening in the world, I feel more at peace. When I'm judging, I feel lower sense of energy. I feel, angry. I fixate on something like a dog trying to get a bone, as opposed to thinking more abundant and thinking about my vision. I'm focused more on like right and wrong. I love your book about, judgment, having a detox from judgments. And I'm curious, where do you still judge the most today in your life, whether it be with yourself, the world, your environment? Where's today prevalent for you? Even though you're the expert in this, sometimes the people that write the things that they need the most. So what's the part that's for you?
Oh yeah, man. Listen, I wrote a book called Judgment Detox. It's very brave to put your face on the cover of a book with that title, because, whenever I'm caught out judging a friend or if they look at me like, isn't that the girl that wrote Judgment Detox? Right? Like, oh, what the hell is she saying? Just yesterday, I was faced with a very big moment of, is this my opportunity to be radically honest, because I'm trying to practice radical honesty.
and non-judgmental at the same time.
But how can I be non-judgmental in my assessment of this radical honest moment?
That's tricky.
It was, because the friend that I was in this dialogue with she's like, I just feel so judged by you. And in my head, I'm like, and my radical honesty part said, I am really judging you, but this is why. And when I got into the why is backed with data. The why is backed with concern for others. The why is backed with overarching care for the world. So I felt really grounded in the why. And when you practice radical honesty and you tell someone the truth, the biggest way that it is the most effective is to say it from a non-judgmental place. To say,
so how could you cue that up? If you don't like something about your partner or your family member, a friend, a coworker, what can you say to them in a non-judgmental way?
How I would have liked
honesty. Yeah.
Here's how I would have liked to have said it to her. I was still heated when I said it, so it came out as judgment. She wasn't wrong about that. But I would have liked to have said to her, by the way, I want you to see the slippers that I'm wearing right now.
I love it. I love that.
Party on the top, slippers on the bottom. So I would have liked to have said to her, I have no intention of changing you. I welcome you to tell me whatever it is that you need to say. I just want to be able to tell you the truth first, and then you have every right to tell me exactly how you feel. I want to be honest with you so that I don't hold on to it, and so that we can clear the air. And it's important for me to let you know my opinion about this matter. So here it is. And then when expressing it, speak about it honestly. And then using nonviolent communication, which would really imply, I'm noticing this. It makes me feel this way. I think a resolution could be this. How about that?
Yeah.
And just coming at it from a place of human to human connection rather than trigger to trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could do it over, I would have done it that way. Maybe she'll watch this.
Exactly.
I'll send it to her.
And why do you think most people are blocking themselves in general from having what they want, whether it be the relationship or the financial abundance or the peace that they want, internal peace? What's the main blocker? Is it judgment? Is it anger and frustration? Is it their childhood traumas? What's the main thing?
It's all of the above, but the root cause of our blocks is unresolved programmed belief systems about ourselves that we repurpose and replay and project onto the future every single waking moment of the day in every area. When I say every area, there may be some areas of your life where that belief system doesn't have a hold on you. Whereas, let's say maybe your finances are flowing, everything's cool, you do great at work, but in your relationships, you're just blocked, like it's just constant. So these unresolved areas have a root cause condition that have tentacles, and it can be in all areas, or it can be in some areas, or it can be in a specific area. And the blocks are the result of a energetic disturbance that is on repeat. The way out of that, the way to get unstuck, is to change our internal nervous system, our belief systems, and all the energy that's wrapped up around that. That's not easy. Yeah, you're going to say, how do you do that?
Well, I mean, say someone listening is 30, 40, 50 years old and they've had a belief for that, for decades of their life. Is it as easy as being aware and conscious and the belief shifting in a moment, or do things really take a long time to shift a belief?
I think I believe in quantum shifts, but I do believe that quantum shifts often come with a lot of practice and recovery.
Yeah, it's like you spend years of working on it, and then all of a sudden it works.
It was funny. When I was talking to Dick Schwartz, the founder of IFS, I said to him, Dick, it feels like it's been 10 years of hard work for overnight relationship to self, And he's like, yeah, I've heard that before. Because that there was this, I had been in IFS therapy for 8 years. And then all of a sudden one day it clicked. I was like, oh my God, my internal resourced self can care for the controller and can care for the little girl and can really navigate the system internally and get those parts out of their extreme roles. And she can be so loving and compassionate. And she's not always going to be there, but she's going to be there more often than not. Holy crap. That was, 8 years in therapy doing IFS and then, 15 years of hardcore recovery.
Right.
So it isn't that, but here's the good news. We may not have that click aha moment overnight, but we have to recognize that every moment of relief along the way is a miracle. The more we add up those moments of relief, the more we live a miraculous life. So the idea that growth is hard and we have to do so much and it's so heavy, we can unpack that by really witnessing that we can have fun along the way.
Yeah.
You can celebrate the small wins. You can enjoy the moments of relief. You can even enjoy the process of personal growth, which sounds insane, but I do.
No, yesterday I felt like the last few months have been emotionally challenging, ups and downs. I haven't felt the sense of like stable emotions with certain people in my life. And I've been like, man, can I just have one day where it's not, wondering what's going to happen next. And yesterday was that day where I was like, man, this is a peaceful day. And even though I don't feel like I've had a lot of peace consistently for the last few months, I was like, I can really appreciate the full day. I can journal. I get to journal about this and reflect back like what was happening and how can I do that one more day? How can I do that one more day in my life and not think about the rest of my life, but just today. What can I do to show up for myself, for peace, for my environment, for the people in my life, and continue to be in progress, like you said, and continue to work on it. And it's a beautiful thing when we can, I guess, reflect on those moments and build the miracle over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's like build it over time, like you said. And is there an exercise or a process that you have about evaluating our beliefs and figuring out which ones truly support us and which ones are tearing us down, and then how to replace a belief that's been so ingrained in your psyche for so long?
I have a wonderful method from my book, Super Attractor, that I often say if it's the only method from the book that somebody applies, they can experience a miraculous shift from that alone. It's called the Choose Again method. Mm-hmm. And the first step is to notice the negative thoughts that you have on repeat and notice how they make you feel. So in the moment, if you can catch yourself, you can't always catch yourself, but if you start practicing this often enough, you'll get good at it. Notice, oh, there's that thought again. Oh my God. And how is it making me feel? Step one, making me feel tight in my chest. It's making me feel anxious. It's making me feel like I want to go punch the wall. It's making me feel XYZ. So you can even write it down. You can just think about it. Step two is really important. It's to forgive yourself for having the thought. Mm-hmm. When you forgive yourself for having that thought, what happens is that you no longer identify with it. You just see it as a thought that you keep thinking. You just see it, oh, there's that freaking thought again.
So it's not, this is my thought. This is a thought that I'm thinking in the moment. Yeah.
It's just that thought that I've thought again and again. There it is. There's that thought again. I'm not good enough. There's that thought again. I'm bad. There's that thought again. No one loves me. There's that thought again. I can't handle this. Oh, it's just there again. Right? Mm-hmm. Just notice the thought. Oh, forgive the thought. Forgive yourself for having the thought. And what happened? Abraham Hicks says that a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. When you forgive yourself for having the thought, you no longer believe that that thought is you. You see it as a thought that you keep thinking. The third step is the fun part. That's when you can choose again, where you can reach for the next best feeling thought. So in the moment, you would reach for the next best feeling thought being something that you believe in. So I always use the example, if your thought is I'm broke, I don't want you to choose again with I'm a millionaire, because the ego part of you, the fear part of you is going to be like, yeah, freaking right. Nice try. Right. You want to reach for the thought of I have that job interview next week and I'm excited about it. I have LinkedIn, which is an incredible resource. I can reach out to that friend who knows so-and-so. I have the skill set that I am really proud of. I have this education behind me. I have this resume. Whatever it is that you can lean into, that you believe in, that empowers you, that makes you feel good. And once you start to get into a momentum with feeling better, you reach for more and you reach for more and you reach for more. And you choose again, and you choose again, and you choose again. You get into the habit of that. It's fun. When we start to do our own personal growth work, one of the greatest benefits, one of the greatest gifts is that we start to have a greater sense of compassion for others because we recognize that we're all suffering. Wow, if I can suffer that much, then I can't imagine what that person's going through. We are all in this together.